Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger. He's Rogers, I'm Patrick, and we are pleased to welcome in on the Netherton Show Coaches Caravan. We head to beautiful Monroe, alma mater of my man Rogers Hampton, where we get the new head Warhawk, Terry Bowden, who joins us now. Coach, how are you?
Doing good. Just getting closer to a football game.
Yeah, we are. Hey, let's start with kind of a somber note. I do want to talk about your dad because he had such an amazing impact on the sport and on so many people. Kind of take us through the impact that he had on you, because obviously he raised you. That's a big deal. But I think for me, I'm more interested in him as the coach and you as a coach, and kind of that mentor relationship that developed. Kind of talk me through what it was like dealing with, having your dad as one of the most legendary coaches while you're getting into the same profession.
Well, I think the one thing when you have a father that wins like he does and really enjoys doing it, he doesn't just win. He's not a mean winner. He's always had a good word to say about his opponents, good word to say about people. Great interview, just a good people person. And so naturally, 3 of his 4 sons would go into coaching. We wanted to do what he does. And then he never really was in too much of most guys get fired 2 or 3 times. And for most of his career, we saw the bright side of the sport, where you coach somewhere and then maybe a bad year, you live with it and go on. And so I think that's where Tommy, Jeff, and I all wanted to be coaches like him. And I think Tommy summed it up best was, well, what did he teach you? What did you learn? And I think that the one thing you learn, I think now that we've had the eulogy and a lot of people have spoken, a lot of coaches have said this, that Bobby Bowden taught us how to act like a head football coach. We may not always do it, but when he win or lose, he was respectful of his opponent. He opened his phone up to interviews, whether it was good or bad. He knew that writers and sports writers had to do their job, and so he was always very accessible to them. But most of all, I think he cared about people, and he made people feel like he was interested in each of them. More of that kind person, that servant football coach, and like you said, his faith was much more important than his football. In fact, he believed that so much that he would recommend to anyone, if they want to be successful as a coach or a player, to not let football be the priority of their life. It'll just screw them up.
Yeah, and to me, I think the most telling thing is hearing his former players talk about the influences that they got from him as people, right? Because we as well as I do that coaches are part coach, but you're also part mentor, you're part father figure. You're as much there to raise these kids into grown men and good members of society as you are to raising good football players. And it seemed like your dad was aces in that group.
Well, and I think that definitely is what separates college from professional football. When you have college students 18 to 21 years old, the amount of growth they still have, maturity, development, social skills, faith skills, all the areas that you need to make sure you're mentoring them, not just because some of them don't have a good home life, or there's a lot of situations in America now where they're not quite the stable home life that you would want to have. You're a good father figure, you're a good mentor and a role model. He just checked off all those things in his life. And I'll be honest with you, if there were a lot of skeletons in his closet, I would have known, or Tommy would have known. He's one of the guys that what you see is what you get. And the players saw that. Because I really think the coaches and there are some, and I hope I'm not included very much, that pretend to be one thing and something else. They have an outside appearance, but they've got that other side of them that they hide from the public. That those players see on the tough football field, they see a side. Some of the times it's not good, but it's a tough sport. You got to get on your kids and on your players. But I think that you've got to be a servant coach who loves your players and cares for your players, or you maybe ought to be coaching pro ball, because that's not what you need to be doing in college.
New ULM head coach Terry Bowden. All right, so one of the things your father famously said is that the football team in athletics is the front porch of the university. It's kind of the thing that you see, and it's how a lot of people from outside of your school relate to you. And so, as you mentioned, he always had time for the media. He was never afraid to turn down an interview. He was always never going to turn down an interview. He was going to make sure that he was accessible. And so part of what you have done so far at ULM is go about winning the PR battle. Obviously, the football is going to start here shortly, but tell me about kind of needing to go in and reestablish those connections and reinvigorate the fan base at ULM, which had largely been kind of beaten down the last several years.
Well, it's critical to do that. I mean, we all know we've had the great glory years of the late '80s when Stan Humphries and others led ULM to the 1AA national championship. But as a 1A program, there's I think 27 out of 28 years without having a winning season, and no wins last year. Didn't lead a game last year. I don't think you've come across poor mouth in your team and your program and getting the kind of response and enthusiasm and excitement that you need. I expect us to win football games and to turn this program around, even at the expense of people being overly exuberant about how we're going to play against Kentucky or how fast it's going to come. But I do believe we need the enthusiasm to be there. And I believe this with all my heart now that I've gotten I've got a half a year in town, is that this university and this town, I think everybody's looking for a boost right now. Everybody's looking for good things to happen. Maybe it's the pandemic that's affected the entire country. Maybe it's just the economy and the way it affects Northeast Louisiana. But I think everybody, from townspeople to businesses to students to administration and to this football team, winning has become a very important a porch window for our university. And so I do believe that as we develop this program, that those things are going to happen. Just now that you're getting to your opening game and it's against Kentucky and you're probably a 4-touchdown underdog and all that stuff, I think you got to weather the bumps along the way and hope for the best.
You are. We've obviously talked about you're from arguably the first family of college football. You're a big name in coaching, and yet your home opener, coach, you're going to be overshadowed by the guy on the opposite sideline. Let's be honest. It's Coach Prime over there. Obviously he's got some things to deal with in turning Jackson State back around, but at the same time, I've got to imagine that's great for y'all to have a name like Deion Sanders on the opposite sideline to open up Malone Stadium for the year.
Oh, I think it's great. My dad was saying, and I kind of selfishly got mad. Said, "Dad, you promised me that first game before you left me. Dad was going to come to the game and maybe get a chance to meet before the game, me and Deion." And he was there. My mom was. They were all set up, and it was going to be a great day. But but now I can look back and say, what am I talking about? He can watch every game now.
Yeah,
he can watch all. He didn't have to come, and so I'm glad for that. But Deion Sanders, I want to tell you, Coach, he's done a great job there. And you know what? I've never been I may be the second or third best coach in my own family, so I don't worry about getting on the sideline. And when my best year was at Auburn in 1993, we were the only undefeated team in the country. That I had to watch my dad win the national championship. I'm not even the best coach in my own family in the best year of my life. But I don't mind. I've got a little humility when it comes to that. But I love the fact that Jackson State will bring a ton of people of their own. I believe we're going to do a great job of bringing people in, and I think that's going to be a real kickoff and celebration of the future of ULM football. As a day that we come out there, I think they've sold about all the RV slots in the Grove are sold out. The place is going to be packed, and I think that'll be a chance for us to come out and kind of get the future of our program rolling. Now, don't forget, we do play Kentucky the week before that.
Right.
We know that, but you and I are talking candidly about our first home game.
Yeah, well, that's the first time when the home folks get a chance to really lay eyes on you, and it's the first time you're going to play an opponent that is not an established brand at this point, like Stoops has gotten Kentucky in the last several years. So it's a great opportunity to go out there and show out a bit. Speaking of the schedule, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the other SEC game on your schedule coming in late November when you travel down to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. That's something that LSU started doing in the last several years where they rotate the in-state opponents. And I've got to imagine that's a boon for y'all. I would always rather see a ULM, a Tech, a Northwestern State go down and play in Baton Rouge and keep the money in state, as opposed to LSU going and bringing App State in or bringing Georgia Southern or whatever. I've got to imagine that's great for you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a long way down the road, but Buddy has had a great game for us. Just our players, most of our players, they dreamed of playing for LSU when they grew up. That was their dream, to play in Death Valley, and so now they're going to get a chance to play. So that becomes huge. But you hit the nail on the head. Financially, that's a huge game for us. And I've been at Group of Five schools now 10 years, at least 10 years with Sanford at 1AA and Akron at 1A, where these games are huge for our budget. It allows all that TV money and conference money to flow downward to your Group of Five programs. And so we can pay we can pay off a lot of bills. To be honest with you, when I'm scheduling those big time schools, I don't look at their record. I look at how big their stadium is.
Yeah.
I want to play it has the stadium because they pay the biggest guarantee.
Yeah. Well, look, trust me, I've been calling games at Northwestern State now for just going into my 18th year, and my motto has always been, hope no one gets hurt and the check clears. That's what we're all about.
Well, we live by that, and I say this, and we have every intention of going into Kentucky that first, finding a way to win. But we also recognize that it's those money games, and they're going to pay us about as much as LSU pays us. Those money games help you to do what your goal is. For us to get competitive in the Sun Belt is our goal. Get competitive in the Sun Belt, however you have to do that. And for us, it might take one or two Power Five teams a year, and that you're talking about $3 million to help your budget out and do a lot of things to help you down the road. So that's part of it. I think you build that into your plan for learning how to be successful, how to hit stumbles and things like that. So, like I say, it's all part of the plan. And the key is to win the games. You got a chance to win first. Get those out of the way. Get the ones you got to get. Then every now and then, I know when I was at Akron, we knocked off Pitt when they went to a bowl game. We knocked off Northwestern the year they played for the Big Ten championship. They don't come all the time, but they can come around.
Talking to Terry Bowden, head coach at ULM. All right, so you finally got on the field to see your guys. What is sort of impressed you? What's jumped out at you as you've been able to finally get real practices underway?
Well, just a lot of energy. You think about, oh my gosh, I'm coming into an 0-10 team. The guys have been put down, disillusioned, obstacle after obstacle, comments made about how bad they are. And for me to watch out the enthusiasm that they have, how much they are excited about a new style of play, just a new bunch of coaches. There's just great enthusiasm, hustle, and effort on the football team. And that's one thing our kids can do as good as anybody in the country. I'm talking LSU. Anybody, we can play as hard as anybody in the country. We can't play as talented, maybe as fast or strong. We can play as hard as every other top team in this country, and that we must do. If we'll do that, then gradually fill a plug in here, a plug in there, get to know our system, get some good coaches, which we have. I think then some wins will start coming.
Speaking of playing fast, you've got Rich Rod, obviously, as your offensive coordinator. Are we going to see vintage Rich Rod? Will we see the hurry up, no huddle, and a lot of zone read option stuff? I mean, we're going to see vintage Rich Rod out there.
Yeah, I don't think you can have Rich Rod out there, and he'll be calling plays, and I'll be on the headset throwing in some. I'll probably talk to him between series, not during the series.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that when I call plays. And Rich and I've called plays for 24 years. He's called them 25. We both don't need to be calling plays. So all my input on play calling will probably end about Tuesday night. I don't need to be doing, except when the other team has the ball, we can talk about it. But I think you'll see a lot of Rich Rodriguez. Now, I went to Clemson for 2 years to prepare myself to call the offense. I didn't think I would get a Rich Rodriguez. I said, I've called plays all my life. I love their offensive style. So I came in here with a style from Clemson that I wanted to. Rich has adopted some of that and added that to it. But I think you're always going to play. With Rich, you're going to play fast, and you better have a good holding back guy behind him. Keep him off that field.
Well, I told him this, and I don't know that people really appreciate, he literally invented the hurry up, no huddle. Like, he's the guy that invented that offense.
Well, it really did came around when he did that, and a lot of it goes back even to when he was at Glenville State, way back as a coach before Tommy hired him, and then they took it to Tulane with Sean King, and then to Clemson with a guy named Woody Danzler who could run in. So I think the zone read. I think what he really did. We were starting to play fast. Even my dad in '93 with Charlie Ward and Ward Dunn. they played no huddle fast break football, but we never had the zone read and the RPOs. I think what Rich did was take it to another level. He took that offense to another level at West Virginia with Pat White when he had him at quarterback, and he took that thing to a whole nother level. Well, in Florida State during that time, my dad was winning not just with fast offense, but with better players at every position.
Well,
and that's different. Rich has had to learn how to play. He goes doubly fast and wins with not always the best people at every position. And that's when you learn how to RPO, you learn how to zone read, and create opportunities on offense that come from scheme, and not just lining up there with 6 or 7 first-round draft picks running a fast break like my dad did back in the 90s at Florida State.
Isn't it interesting, Terry, how when it used to be the great equalizer on offense was the triple option. That was the stuff that was always the equalizer, the service academies. So we don't have guys that are as big, but we run the triple because it gives us an advantage. We can use angles. We don't have to be as big. The RPO and hurry up, no huddle stuff is kind of the new triple option in a way, because it is technically the triple option on a lot of plays, just out of a different formation, a different set. But it is interesting how that's now the new equalizer if you don't have the same level of talent.
Right. And to be honest with you, we're on the back end of that curve. We're not even on the front end of the curve now. We're on the back end, and something else is going to start happening. The hurry-up offense, it hasn't been just hurry-up offense. It's change of tempo offense. Hurry up, slow down, hurry up. You'll get defenses uncomfortable with the speed that you're going so that you get them running at exactly. One thing a defense has to, they have to play at the same speed the offense plays and adapt to it. So if you can change up the tempos at different times of the game, you can do some things. But again, it is what's going on now. But if you're going to coach, and I've been in 5 decades myself since 1983. My dad was in 7. If you're going to coach from decade to decade, you better be ready to go from the straight tee to the split tee to the wing tee to the I formation to the West Coast to the 4 wide out. Every 10 or 15 years, there's a changing trend in football. But I've got I've got a guy working with me, and Rich Rodridguez, who really was responsible for a lot of the things we're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about you defensively. What are you expecting to look like?
Well, I really think it's going to be an aggressive style of defense. It'll be a pressure defense with a lot of go get you type stuff. Not to use Rich Rodridguez too much, but he has an old saying: "Instruments up, defense. Somebody's going to score. We're going to go after them all the way." And somebody's going to score on this next play, so the band better get their instruments up.
Yep.
We're going to play an instruments up defense. We're going to come after them, and we're going to get after them in a lot of different ways. And I have an enthusiastic young staff, mostly young. Ron West is the one guy with a little more age, and Alonzo Highsmith maybe halfway. But young staff, young aggressive defense, and I think for us to overcome the fact that we won't very seldom will we have the most talent on the team. We've got to get some unblocked defenders around that football, and that comes with blitzing, overloading, and things like that, which is going to make it a little bit tricky on the back end. But you've got to do one thing. If you're going to make things happen, you can't sit back. You got to blitz, you got to attack, and you got to always move forward.
Terry Bowden, head coach at ULM. Last couple things, Coach, and we'll let you go. We do appreciate your time, as always. When you suit up at Kentucky, give us some names that when we're watching on TV, we're going to see pop out and some guys that you expect to have impacts.
Well, I mean, the names I can think of that we've mentioned to you, because we're still trying to figure out who those names are yet, because we have different changes. But, of course, Rich Rodridguez will be the quarterback right now. He's gotten that. He earned that position in the spring, and so you're going to see Rhett, obviously. Then, Ty Shelby on defense is solid at that place, and he'll be there. I guarantee you'll see him. Those are 2 of the better guys that you're going to see on that football team that have been there week in and week out. And so Newton at cornerback is a good, solid player that really can play football. And I've had the luxury of being a Power 5 and a Group of 5 coach. And I've been at the Group of 5 level playing against Troy, against Lafayette, and against Appalachian State. So we've got some players like those 3 that can play at that level. They're playing at that level, but I think it'll be more surprise than the usual stuff out there when we come out there. I think we're all waiting to see where will guys like that find another guy step up and be I think the guys that will step up and be the new names will be ones that none of us have heard of yet.
Well, that's the exciting thing, right? This is the time when someone gets to step up and show out that maybe you weren't expecting to see, and you create a new star when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think Kentucky will, for whether you win or lose or close or what, will be a great game to gauge how many guys can go out there and fight, go out there and against all odds or whatever they say the difficulties are going to be, and they'll go out there and just play football. And so that's what you're looking for, and that's what we'll see a lot of that in the first game.
Well, Coach, obviously we love y'all. We hope you do a really, really good job over there. Like your father, you've been accessible to us in the short time that you've been there, and we really do appreciate that. Best of luck to y'all. Please send our best to everyone over there, and we certainly hope for great success for you guys.
Thank you so much for having me on anytime.
All right, Terry Bowden, head coach of the ULM Warhawks.